It's over for you.
I know that. Whatever you think's over for me was over a long time ago.
Is this man your friend?
Tell me where your brother is.
He's going south, a long way from here. I'll take you to him, I promise.
Your brother left you to die. He's abandoned you out here to me. You don't learn to fight, your death's gonna come real soon. You've never stopped thinking about a life you've taken. What's the price you pay for taking it?
I'm still in control here.
What's he doing?
He ain't giving up.
Start talking to me!
What a thing to get worked up about in this day and age.
There's no harm God won't see me come to.
God feels nothing for you. The only thing that means anything right now is that I'm here. And he's not.
This is the angriest Guy Pearce we've ever seen.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, he's not a happy man. He's fairly stripped of any remains of humanity and personality, I think, at this point in his life.
What accounts for this, though, in the film? Because the audience is given a lot of questions, not a lot of answers in what's happening, what's going on.
Well, that scene in the middle where I talked to Tony Hayes and, explain that some years ago I murdered my wife and the man that she was having an affair with, and that really the fact that nobody came after me for it was more heartbreaking to me than having my heart broken by my wife, And I think on some level that's at the heart of it, this idea that you can get away with something like that, that really there is no sense of justice anymore, that the world has really collapsed to a point where it's gone so far backwards, that it's become lawless, I guess. Or
what were the qualities in this project that attracted you at this particular time in your career?
Oh, well, it was David Michôd. I mean, I did have some issues when I first read the script in trying to understand who the character was, because, as you say, we're not given a lot about him, and obviously when we see him at the start of the film, he is sort of just the skeleton of who he used to be. He's kind of almost the Walking Dead at this point. So it was really difficult for me to grasp or get a sense of who he was. So, if it wasn't for David, and knowing that it was David going to be making the film, I might not have chosen to do it. I might not have gone so far down the road to try and understand who this character was. But David's got a really unique voice as a filmmaker, we know, and really delivers something. Well, it's exactly that. It's unique. He just has a really odd sense of rhythm and what he realises on film.
Guy, one of the reasons why we love you is because you're such an honest engine. And we know that if you weren't happy with the director, you'd probably be saying it.
Yeah.
So how do you size David up?
I try not to so much these days. I try to be a little more diplomatic than I used to be. But, well, David's great. He's also challenging, which is wonderful. Is what's wonderful about him, because he makes you go to places that aren't necessarily your first choice. But he stretches you. He makes you realise that, you know, that there's a way of doing something that's over here that you might not have ever sort of contemplated. And I remember when we did Animal Kingdom, and even down to the way you deliver certain lines of dialogue, he kind of sometimes wants you to emphasise something that's not naturally the way you might melodically express something. And that can be a challenge, but he's such an honest guy. You know, he has great sort of interest in why things that are obscure might be actually more interesting on film. And so you go with him in his explanation. You go, all right, well, I'll try what you want me to try. And in a way, that's exactly what I said with the Rover. I was like, okay, well, I don't really know what I'm getting into here, but I'm willing to get into it with you, because clearly he's proven himself as a filmmaker. And, you know, so his honesty and his sensitivity and stuff is incredibly valuable.
Why is the future such an awful place to be in the movies?
Well, I think if you just look at the natural trajectory of our planet, it's hard to assume, and I'd like to be an optimist, and I'd like to think that younger generations are going to come up and go, you know what? People who don't believe in climate change can get stuffed, because we do, we all know. You know, people who believe that greed and everything, they can get stuffed too, because we know that it's not fair. I'd like to think that younger generations will actually come up and help sort some of this stuff out. But based on the fact that the world's population is increasing at the rate that it is, and that there's nowhere to put our rubbish, and that the gap between the rich and the poor is getting bigger and bigger, and that more people are starving and dying and living in kind of squalid conditions around the world, you go, okay, well, show me another alternative. It's really, it is very depressing when you think about if it keeps going at the rate that it's going, that it will lead to worlds like the, you know.
So you see it as just a logical extension of pretty much the way we're going now?
Yeah, yeah.
You've been putting a lot of thought into this, Guy. You seem to be becoming a bit more perhaps pessimistic as you head towards 50.
Well, look, I actually think, I don't know if it's more pessimistic. I just think it's sort of getting a more three-dimensional view of actually what's going on. I mean, I've always been pretty pessimistic about the world. Even as a kid, I remember when the population of the world was 4 billion. And then at a certain point, I learnt that it was 5 billion. And I remember being extremely worried about that, going, but hang on, there's only so much room for us to live. Is this going to keep happening? Like, I used to think we'd stop at a certain point. And you know, I think on some level the Chinese have got it right as far as saying the one-child policy, it's, you know, I mean, maybe the two-child policy is not a bad idea. But I think... I do worry, and I go, and I don't even have kids, so I don't have to worry about what future my kids are going to have, but I just worry about the kids of everybody else. So, yeah, but yeah, I guess as you get older, you think about things more.
You have become this awesome character actor. You look at your CV, and it is gloriously all over the shop. I saw Lockout.
Right.
So you're getting some sack with Luc Besson. You're in Iron Man 3, you're in King's Speech.
Yeah, it's pretty eclectic.
Are you now where you wanted to be, Guy?
Look, I think so. I mean, I on some level I feel like I don't feel like I always was. I think once I started working in the States, you know, once I started, after I'd done LA Confidential and a few things, and then I took a big step back from it all in about 2001 and just had a little bit of a reassess of the whole thing. I then, you know, I do feel like I am where I want to be. The thing that still slightly frustrates me is the nature of the industry and the fact that you've got to kind of be out there, you know, blowing your trumpet and waving your flag and turning up to things in order to keep getting work. You know, I'd like to be offered roles that are slightly bigger than just 5-minute things in the Hurt Locker, for example, to be honest. But at the same time, I do get opportunities like that, like doing this, for example. So, but and you know, what I also really enjoy is that I live a great private life. I don't have to cop all the flack that, say, Rob Pattinson does, or Tom Cruise and Hugh and all of those guys, you know. So I probably am where I really want to be, because I actually can't stand being too recognisable, to be honest. It just drives me nuts, you know. So you know, I'm pretty fortunate about the amount of roles that I am getting. There's plenty of actor friends of mine that get to do one play a year, and that's about it. So, you know, I've got nothing to complain about.
How old are you now?
I'll be 47 in October.
How's that working out for you?
It's all right. I mean, aches and pains kind of take a bit longer to go away, you know, but I'm pretty fit. But I find if I injure myself now, still 3 months later, going, how come my foot still hurts? You know, so that's probably the main drawback, I reckon, that I'm noticing.
I'd like your view on the balance between talent and luck, hard work and happenstance, and how that plays into a career.
Well, I think there's two answers to the question, and one is there's the story in relation to me, and then there's just the story in relation to anybody else out there, you know. And some people I just think are extremely lucky, and you know, and I don't even understand what that means actually, because someone obviously has to have some kind of magic or some kind of, you know, it's that X factor that we talk about, and I might look at them and go, well, I don't think they're necessarily that good at what they do, but there's just something electric about them, and people love them, and they're massive, and they're in the public eye, and all that sort of stuff, you know. And that's great if that's what they want, you know. And other actors, the actors that I really admire, the ones who are just outright brilliant actors, the Gary Oldmans and the Ray Fienneses of the world, you know, who work very hard but just have an incredibly natural talent. That's what I wish I had, you know. That's what I wish I really kind of could offer. And it's hard for me to know what I offer, to be honest. I feel like I can be good sometimes, and then other times not so good. I feel like I can be popular sometimes, and I tread that little path, and then other times I go, ugh, that's just not me at all, you know. So it's hard to be objective about yourself, I reckon.
Could you be pushing yourself harder if you wanted to?
Yeah, I mean, I could go and live in LA, and I could really, you know, push it. But in the times that I've attempted that before, I lose my sort of motivation. I actually, you know, when I say, and I lose my ability to choose well. You know, I really realised that I need big breaks in between jobs, and I need to get away from the industry in the times that I do. Because then when I do go back into it, I'm fully committed. And if I'm not fully committed, like, you know, a couple of years there, sort of at the end of the sort of 99, 2000, 2001 and stuff, I mean, I was fully committed as best I could be, but I just was running out of energy. You know, then I just don't do good work. So I just don't want to be doing bad work. Is that what I'm, what am I trying to say? Was there too many double negatives in that sentence? You know what I'm saying. I just want to do good work.
A number of really good actors have portrayed Andy Warhol, but I think you nailed him better than anybody.
Oh, thank you very much.
What accounts for that? What did you do?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we were meant to shoot the film at the start of, or earlier in 2005 in New Orleans, funnily enough, because the funding came out of that part of the country, and the cyclone, Katrina hit, and so the film got put off. So Sienna and I ended up having a few months in New York kind of waiting to work out where it was going to be. So we just had sort of weeks and weeks and months of research to do. So it could have been that actually. But we met a lot of people from that world, and we spent a lot of time with people. And really there's tons of material on Andy, you know, particularly video stuff and audio stuff. And Bridget Berlin was a wonderful help for me, because she has all the tapes that Andy and her recorded between themselves in all the phone conversations they did. And that was wonderful research material for me.
Lockout. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Are you deliberately trying to get in with the French Luc Besson crowd?
No, he just came to me and you know, asked if I would do the film, which was really random, I thought, which was great in a way, because I said to him, you know, I'm not action hero material. He said, that's not how I'm looking at it. This is a character for you to play. And I went, yeah, great, okay.
When you have a role in a film like Iron Man 3,
yeah,
is a lot of that predicated on the deal that you make, rather than getting a flat fee that you get a percentage, a small taste of the grosses that a film like that makes?
In choosing a role like that? Not at all. No, not at all. No, I mean, I sat down with Shane Black, he told me the story. And I actually loved the first two Iron Man movies, and I love Robert and Gwyneth. So for me, it really was about the role, because you say yes, you choose the role, and then your agent goes and does the deal anyway. So, you know, I mean, there is certainly an aspect of knowing that the film will be out there, and you know, but I don't know that I've got any work based on having been in Iron Man 3. So who knows if that pays off anyway. You know? But
you get a taste of all that money.
Oh no. Don't get me wrong, Marvel are fairly tight. Certainly more money than I might have earned on some things, you know, some other things that I've done, yeah.